Hi, I'm here with Tim Martin of Martin Architecture, founded in Carlsbad in 2004 with over 25 years of experience designing and managing custom home projects in the San Diego area. He is committed to providing the highest standard of care in his designs, the execution of his projects, and his relationship with clients. Tim received his degree in architecture from the University of Cincinnati in 1976. He began his career in northern Indiana designing schools and commercial office buildings, then joined a large design-build firm in St. Louis where he designed financial institutions across the country. He relocated his family to the San Diego area in 1985, where he began his practice of residential architecture. Tim is a registered architect in California and Indiana. Hi, Tim.
How are you, Michelle?
So it's great that you went to school in Cincinnati, which I also knew from sitting on the tour bus with you for the home tour. And so it's great that we'll kind of talk about that, but we'll also talk about the questions that it took. So, what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
I thought about that a bit because when you pose that question, young people, when they consider going into architecture, don't have the faintest idea what architecture is all about. And when I think of where my journey started, I think I was a sophomore in high school. I took a drafting class. Mm-hmm. How that had anything to do with architecture, I don't really know.
I did that too.
Okay.
So yeah,
it got me to the point where I applied to architecture school, and I made a commitment that that's what I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I kind of learned along the way what that was about. So those are probably my first recollections. I remember being in Cincinnati. There's a little mecca, Columbus, Indiana, not far from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which many people know is there's an enormous collection of modern architecture there, just because of the Cummings Foundation, mm-hmm. that has influenced well-known architects from all over the world.
Yeah.
Doing work in that community, and I used to take field trips up there, day trips, mm-hmm. from Cincinnati, and that's probably how I began to experience architecture, is not looking at architecture in books, but actually being there and experiencing a building firsthand, and a community, and mm-hmm. So that's probably the origins.
Yeah. What are 3 classic buildings that you like and why? And, like what I tell everybody, I say 3 because it's difficult for architects to really limit themselves to one. If you ask them one, they typically will say, well, this and this.
Number 1 on my list is Falling Water.
Okay.
And that jumped right out at me. Mm-hmm. And it is a building that I've been to. I've experienced mm-hmm. it. I've studied it. So it always comes back to me, and part of that is my passion for residential architecture, which is now going on, it's better than 30 years.
Yeah.
And it is still one of the finest examples of a home architecture I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It's just timeless. It is, the scale of the buildings is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And it was so innovative.
Yeah.
And it still feels that way. So that's number 1. Number 2, I've never experienced, and not sure if I ever will, but Sydney Opera House has always been something that jumped out at me as iconic architecture, mm-hmm. something that is just awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Don't know why, because I've never really studied the building much or seen it, but I've always thought, boy, there's one I'd love to see. To go beyond that, there's probably 100 that I could say. There's and some of it is you think about famous architecture across the globe, and I've been to a few, and I've been to Europe a few times, and the cathedrals are so inspiring.
Yes.
Notre Dame, St. Peter's, the Florence Cathedral.
Yes. Duomo.
The Duomo, which was very fascinating to climb up within and begin to understand that building. And I always loved the Pisa Cathedral. Mm-hmm. Not so much the exterior and the Leaning Tower, which is what most people remember it by, but it was just one that just struck me on the interior. the striped marble, and so those are my examples. I guess number 3 would be cathedrals.
Cathedrals. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. That's one of the things that when we went to architecture school in Denmark, that was like one of the jokes. We also had to take a foreign language class, to learn Danish, and that was like one of the things, like, what do architecture students do? And one was they're in their studio all the time, all night long, and that when they go on their study tours, they go to all the churches. Like, that was they go and see every single church in Europe. So what do you like about being an architect?
Well, as the years have passed, I probably can more easily compile a list of what I don't like about it anymore, which is really unfortunate. But I love the creative process. I love the fact that I changed my career when I moved to California and began pursuing residential architecture exclusively, because to work for a client like that is so much different than working for a board of directors or a school board so I love the interaction. I love the scale of the buildings that I work on, because I can engross myself in them, and you can see and solve the entire project in a bit shorter period of time, and it becomes much less repetitive, and every square inch of the building is very unique and uniquely designed. So I do like that component of it. I love to draw. Have always loved to draw and to sketch, and one of the things that I'll probably never retire, because one of the most therapeutic things that I do is just to sit and tune everything else out and draw and sketch and create projects. So what I dislike is what has happened to us bureaucratically with a local state coastal commission, all the local building departments, planning departments, and the ridiculously difficult process that has become. It's the part that I like the least, but the part that keeps taking more and more of my time.
Yes. And I think especially when you do work on the coast, I mean, I don't know whether
easy.
people...
Nothing's easy. Everything is challenged.
Yeah. I don't know whether they realize like how difficult residential architecture really becomes when you're working with anything on the coast and in San Diego. I mean, we have a beautiful environment, and we're constantly being challenged by, different jurisdictions and and there's your share of NIMBYs out there that have already got what they want, and then they want to have something to say about anybody else coming into the neighborhood. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I find it, even though we don't have, like in Point Loma, that's under San Diego, and they're not really under any, scenic corridors or anything, but, what happens and what's happened with one of the projects, the neighbor will just sue the other neighbor.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't have anything to do with the with the governing jurisdiction. It's just the threaten to sue if you're going to build that there, so you have to back off, which is what I mean. I got the project built, but we had to go through 2 of those things.
Well, and generally people are afraid of what they're going to lose, which that usually translates into their own view, their own private view, which is not protected. So if their private view is threatened, they'll look for any other excuse to oppose a project. Yeah. And whether it's claiming it's historic, or environmental issues, or it's very subjective judgments about whether or not it's in keeping with the neighborhood or the community, or if it's out of scale with the neighborhood. Yes. So they'll always look for ways to combat that. Yeah.
So what would you like to say about the future of architecture?
Well, maybe it's California that's driving this, but it's the bureaucratic process is I think it's very unfortunate, and I don't see it reversing. I think it's only going to get worse and worse. It's going to be more and more difficult for architects to be able to confidently tell their clients what they can or can't have, because the rules are changing. They keep moving the goalposts, even in the midst of a project being designed. That you think you know the rules in the beginning. You based on experience and based on research, and then as you go through the process, you find how people are changing the rules on you, and it's makes you look unprofessional with your clients if you can't predict all of this. But it's still, so I don't like that portion of it. Another thing, maybe I'm still a bit of a dinosaur because I do love to draw, and I think it's quite unfortunate that new, recently educated architects don't know how to draw anymore. That it's never taught in schools anymore, or rarely.
Yeah.
And I think we're losing our craft. And I don't like the computer as a design tool. It's a very helpful tool for many things, but not to me as a design tool. Now, if I were Frank Gehry or something, I'd probably say otherwise. Like, you probably couldn't do the work without the computer. But honestly, I think we're losing our craft and our touch with architecture and the profession. I also see that there are fewer and fewer people who graduate from school that are actively pursuing their registration. It seems like there are far fewer registered architects now than there were before.
Yeah, and I did a blog with this, about, because one of the hashtag Architalks blog post was, about the ARE, and I've kind of said, it seemed like there were more people that were getting licensed when it was only given once a year, as opposed to now when you can go into any testing place and take it, whenever you want. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people were taking advantage of that. And I said, maybe it's almost the way that, I kind of talk about how we used to take the architecture exam in that huge building, like on the Pomona Fairgrounds, where there were just a ton of people there. And you kind of said, "Oh, are you going to take the exam?" And it was kind of pushed at Cal Poly, at the Cal Polys, both the Cal Poly, that you're kind of pushed like, "Oh, you go and you get licensed after that. Like that's what you're going to go and do. You can't call yourself an architect in the state of California unless you are licensed. So why would you go all that way?" And and obviously there's some people that have some difficulty taking it, and there are ways. I mean, there are disability advantages that that you can take advantage of those disabilities as far as being able to go and take the test. So I don't want that to hold up a lot of people, and especially now that it's I think that the trend is going more towards getting licensed again. I think that there's more people that are getting licensed, but
I hope that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't have people that are working for me. I see the students, in the school, and I think that's promising. But yeah, I don't know if you're a dinosaur. I guess I would be that. I still hand draft everything, so everybody's kind of always,
Okay.
Like, oh my gosh, why you really like hand draft? And I said, oh yeah. I said, I mean, at this point, I think that I would have to get somebody. I'd have to hire somebody.
That's what I've done.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, because I mean, I learned AutoCAD version 1 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
In 1980. 85, 86 or something. Yeah, which that was, that's anybody, you want to go back to that, that was, that was quite a way to do it. So is there anything else that you want to talk about?
That wasn't one of your questions.
No. It's just talking. It's like if whatever you want. What do you want to talk about? Anything that you really enjoyed about CRAN? The CRAN.
Yeah, I will. Because
Okay.
again, as a residential architecture practitioner, I'd found AIA conventions fairly tiresome. That they weren't terribly relevant to my practice. And about 5 years ago, I discovered CRAN, and I had missed a convention in Chicago because of another obligation, and I found CRAN, and I went to the symposium in Charleston, which was a life changer for me. It was just a terrific experience. 3 or 4 days immersed in that in residential architecture. That it was totally relevant, and I talked to, heard from, and toured homes by a lot of very good architects.
Yeah.
And it was, so I haven't missed one since, other than the symposium that got rained out.
Oh, yeah, in Miami.
In Miami a couple of years back.
Yeah.
But it's one of the high points of my year. I get so much out of it, particularly the home tours. That you get so much out of seeing how a good, experienced, passionate residential architect and the execution of his work, when you get to see that work, is special.
Yeah.
And it helps me with my career, with my thought process, my ideas. Yes. So I'll keep going. I'm a regular attendee now. I'm one of the first ones to register whenever it comes up. And that's that. Another thing I will mention, I guess, is you mentioned famous buildings, or particular favorite buildings.
Classic
Yes,
buildings. Yes. Yeah.
I started thinking about that, and actually I started thinking about architects. Because it's easier for me to rattle off a list of names of classic residential architects that or architects that I admire.
Yeah.
And I think you get a hold of an old set of drawings that was done by someone like Irving Gill or Thomas Shepard.
Yeah.
And you see what they did and the few pieces of paper it took them to document all that was needed for someone to build a home like this. And then you look at the drawings that we produce now, which are 5 times the volume, and it's all watered down and diluted, and a lot of technical information and a lot of useless notes.
Yes,
that nobody
a lot
reads.
Of notes.
But so anyway, I'm an admirer of a lot of classic architects. I've worked on Edgar Ulrich buildings. I've worked on a Irving Gill building. Many Thomas Shepard buildings, Richard Requa. And I've also found some people. You've always been an admirer of Robert Stern. He has a terrific practice. He has a terrific volume of work, and I've studied his work for decades. And I've seen a lot of his work. Starting in Charleston, I was able to see a couple of his buildings in Charleston. I actually met him there, and a couple of the principals that were with his firm. Again, very inspiring work. So Robert Stern is one of my current, still practicing favorites. I've also admired Howard Bachen's work out of the Napa Valley.
Okay.
And he's kind of created, I believe, a very unique style of architecture up there. I call it, I guess, Napa farmhouse. Okay. But it's a contemporized farmhouse style that is very fascinating to me. And I've studied some of that. I've always liked Jim Olson out of Seattle. Tom Kundig. So that's another thing that I think about is I kind of grasp onto different architects. I buy a couple of their books and I study their work and I look at their buildings whenever I can, and it helps me to become a better architect.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think definitely going to experience the. I mean, because you can. I think my classic thing of architecture history and seeing St. Peter's in a book and like looking at the plan and just not understanding the scale of the building until you actually get into it and you're like, oh, why was the scale never drawn in the book or something? You just don't understand the scale of it. Until you're actually there. Oh my gosh, this is
that's
giant.
Like any cathedral.
Yeah, it's just
the
giant.
scale is is grand.
Yes,
Very grand.
yes, very overwhelming, and with an intentional, that being very intentional. Yeah.
I happened to be in the Central Coast over the Thanksgiving holiday recently, and I took a nighttime tour of San Simeon.
Yes.
And that was, I'd been there before, I'd seen it before, and I've studied Julia Morgan's work before.
Yeah.
But it was quite a treat to see it at night.
Yeah.
Very, very different experience, but there's another building when you talk about the grand scale.
Oh, yeah.
Not as grand as the cathedrals in Europe, but it's,
yes.
But still, nevertheless, for a house, that is quite significant.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've been there several times. I've never taken the night tour, but you know, just some of those. I mean, the pools. You know, that pool that's the one that has all of the blue mosaic top. Which one is that one? That's not the mermaid pools are outside, but the one that's under.
Neptune pool's outside. They
Yes.
call it. I know the one with the mosaic tile inside.
Yes, and the diving board that is just looks kind of.
The platform.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Where that's just, you know, I mean, that's good. And it's good. It's actually good to know, talking about education, is that the California state requirements for primary education they have a whole part that now they're supposed to learn about architecture, and one of the architects that they're supposed to learn about is Julia Morgan, which I think is wonderful for kids to be exposed at that young of an age. Not only that, you know, that it's an architect that's in California, you know, that did all of these great buildings, you know, but also that it's a woman architect, which I think is very, you know, I mean, I think that, I mean, she won the Gold Award, right? But like, what, 100 years after she passed away.
Yeah.
But, but yes, you know, San Simeon and Asilomar. I love,
Asilomar, yes.
I love Asilomar. I think that that's and that it's a state park, and that you can go and stay there, right, in a, you know, beautiful area, right? You know, you look at the hotel across the way, and you know, those hotels are like $500 a night, and you can stay at San Simeon, or you can stay in Asilomar right there on the beach for like $100. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not quite the frills necessarily, but it is wonderful environment again.
Yes,
so.
it is. Yeah. And the scale is just, you know, so great, and you know, sustainable, even right before sustainability was in. So I mean, they could have had whatever they wanted, you know, but they still managed to make a great project that's you know, sustainable, not only in materials and things, but in just the longevity and the materials that were used. So, okay, well, we can wrap it up. And one of the reasons why I decided to go on the CRAN to the CRAN Symposium, besides the fact that it was also paid for me as the chair at San Diego, was you just talking about how it was just a great, you know, symposium to go to. So I was really glad that I went there, and you know,
Glad you got to see it.
Yes,
we need to talk some more of our local architects into going.
Yes,
and participating.
Yes, definitely. Okay, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michelle.